one more short story. Hello, and thank you for joining us on another episode of One More Short Story with me, Chris Fulwell. We've got a great episode today, 3 stories which I've grouped together around the theme of opposites and others. I'm not going to go into detail on why some of the stories have been picked with this theme in mind. I don't want to spoil what unravels as the stories progress, but I'm hoping that by the end of the episode, the machinations of my mind will make sense. We can but dream. Something new for this episode. 2 out of 3 stories in this episode have been chosen by winners of our story selection raffle. The story selection raffle is something that happens in every Writer's Room episode of One More Short Story, where one of our subscribers is picked at random to pick a writing battle story to feature on a future episode. That's available to all insider and founder subscribers. More details of subscription can be found on our website and in the episode description, and of course on our social media. Okay, we will dive into the first of our stories today, and this is by Harry Humber. And Harry chose it as the first winner of our story selection raffle. Harry's picked his own story, The Menagerie. This story comes from the Tempest Owl battle earlier this year. It was in the cryptid fiction genre with the other prompts of genius and throwing axe. It's narrated for us by a new narrator by the name of Philip Godfrey, who just has a terrific voice. So I will get out of the way and leave you with The Menagerie by Harry Humber, narrated by Philip Godfrey.
The boy was already in the yard when Jory Klein heard the cans. They clinked on their wire, light and careless. Wind, maybe, or a step placed gently where a step shouldn't have been. Jory didn't reach for the axe. He sat on the porch and watched the boy take off his hat like he'd been taught to respect the dead. The shack leaned toward the arroyo, listening. Smoke lifted thin from the stovepipe, vanishing into a sky that didn't promise rain. "You can come closer," Jory said. The boy hesitated, then crossed the dirt. Boots too big, face sun-scorched. "They said you're an expert," the boy said. "On what?" "The menagerie," the boy added. That earned Jory's full attention. Jory shifted in his chair. Pain followed the movement like an old dog. "Says who?" Jory asked. "Folks in town," the boy replied. "Said if anyone could explain it, you could." Jory's good eye drifted to the stump beside the porch. The axe was sunk deep, handle worn smooth with years of hands that had trusted it. "Explainin' is generous. I just survived is all," Jory said. "Sit." The boy sat on the edge of the porch step, close enough to see what the years had done to Jory's face, close enough to notice his left hand was gone, not the clean kind of gone. "You heard it?" Jory asked. The boy nodded. "At night. Makes sounds like the people we loved." Jory let that sit. "Animals go missing first?" he asked. "Yes." "Tracks that don't agree with each other?" The boy nodded. Jory exhaled through his nose. Wind worked through the cottonwoods. The cans chimed again, almost cheerful. "You're not from town," Jory said. "No." "You got family?" The boy hesitated. "A mother." Jory nodded. Something in him eased, then tightened again. "You want the story," he said. "I want to understand," the boy said. Jory looked past him toward the arroyo, where the land fell away like a decision already made. Cattle started vanishing. Not eaten, just gone. Sheriff didn't want panic. Panic gets people hurt. The boy listened without interrupting. I went looking, Jory said. Took my boy with me. Riley, Jory added. 13. Thought he was a man 'cause he could drive fence posts and spit tobacco without gagging. We set up at dusk, Jory went on. Me with a rifle, Riley with a lantern and his granddaddy's axe there. The boy's gaze lingered on the axe and the stump. Tracked it to Martin Ridge, Jory said. Found prints that kept changing their mind. Hooves and toes, claws and hands. He rubbed his wrist without thinking. It came in looking human, Jory said. Hungry, bent, wrong. I fired. Bullet hit, but it didn't matter. The boy's brow furrowed. What did it do? It changed, Jory said. Slow enough you could pretend it wasn't. Fast enough to think yourself a liar. He swallowed. Riley lifted the lantern. The light didn't stick to it right, like it didn't know where to land. The boy leaned forward. He swung. The axe bit. That part worked. Clean, honest. His voice stayed even, with effort. Then it changed into something the axe had no business trying to strike. Jory lifted his ruined arm. I ran in, tore the axe loose, but after that, he stopped there. Riley? The boy asked quietly. Jory looked at him, really looked. It took him, Jory said. Not fast, not clean. Jory swallowed hard. The boy's voice dropped. Did you ever see it again? Jory looked down. It came back, he said, wearing him, wearing Riley. Wind moved through the yard. The chime of the can sounded hollow. Same face, Jory said. Same scar on his chin. Same voice calling me daddy, but wrong in small ways. The boy didn't look away. What did you do? Jory took a breath that didn't help. Something broke loose in me, he said. I grabbed that same axe. I didn't even know for certain it wasn't Riley. He stared past the boy, eyes fixed on nothing that lived anymore. I swung, he said, over and over, at my boy, or what was wearing him. I didn't stop to decide which. His voice thinned, but after the third hit, it couldn't hold him anymore. Face came apart, like wet paper. I kept going, kept hitting until it broke loose and ran. I hurt it bad. Bad enough it wouldn't forgive me. The boy looked at Jory. My mother, he said. Jory nodded, knowing. Took her 3 days to die after that. She made sure I wouldn't forget you. The words landed clean. No accusation, no heat. Jory met the boy's eyes, held them. The boy stiffened. You're not shocked. I knew what you were the moment you stepped foot in this yard. How? A faint smile pulled at Jory's ruined mouth. Like folks say, I'm some kind of expert. The boy's voice dropped. Then why'd you leave the axe? Jory exhaled. Long, finished. I'm tired, he said. I'm ready to see my wife. My boy. He stared hard at the boy. Just don't go wearing my face. The boy's shape came apart quietly, the air bending slightly around him. Jory closed his eyes. The air sliced first, whisper thin, like a thought finishing itself. Jory's head left him cleanly. His body followed a second layer, knees finding the earth like they were always meant to. When the air relaxed, the boy stood there once more. His eyes rested on the axe in the stump, at the handle worn smooth by love. Then he turned toward the arroyo and walked away, leaving footsteps unsure of what they had ever been meant to be. The shack groaned in the wind, and smoke lifted thin from the stovepipe into a sky finally full of rain.
I hope you weren't going to bed upon listening to that. If you've read or heard any of Harry's work before, you'll know he's got a knack for the unsettling, and what a terrific voice Philip Godfrey's got there, nice and deep and resonant, and really putting you there with Jory and the boy and all the impossible, tense and just horrific situations that are unfolding there. This story got Harry all the way to the Sweet 16, and I think he should be very proud of that. Well done, Harry, and great choice for our first ever story selection raffle. Our next story is by Alexandria Simmons, and it's called Summer Shadows. Now, this also comes from the story selection raffle, but in another first. This story was chosen by Matt Fagan. Matt won the story selection raffle. His name was picked at random, and rather than pick one of his own stories, he came across this story in the Writing Battle community in debrief, and he just absolutely loved it, and he said, I want this one. And you know what, I'm very, very glad that he did. I've not come across this writer before. This is an excellent story. I'm doing the thing I often do on the Writers' Room episode in interviews where I almost spoil it, so I'm not going to. I will be strong. But it's from the Verdant Owl competition this year. It's the first time Writing Battle's done 2,500 word stories, and I think it's really paid off with the immense quality of the stories we saw coming out of that competition, and this story's no exception. Alexandria had the following prompts. Her genre was Opposites Attract, and her other prompts were Follower and Castle. It's narrated for us by Lauren Hogg, who has done a wonderful job. I know you're going to enjoy this. I can't wait to hear what people think. And yeah, I will shut up and get out of the way. This is Summer Shadows by Alexandria Simmons, narrated by Lauren Hogg.
The royal court returned to the king's summer castle, as it did when heat thickened and roads turned to dust. Fresh banners snapped atop cloud-brushed turrets. Servants hurried through the galleries, bent beneath baskets and bolts of cloth. Laughter rang through the great hall as nobles arrived. Aleyne, of House Varel, was meant to be among them. She was not. Aleyne slipped her attendant, Amihald, when the woman turned to scold a page for muddy boots. It was Aylin's first season at the Royal Summer Castle, and she had no wish to waste it in the nursery. It was not her first escape. Aleyne was certain her absence would go unmarked by her keeper. Hald would soon be absorbed in her stitches or currying favour with other ladies of the court. With so many daughters gathered, one missing child was easily overlooked. Aleyne knelt in an underground passage near the kitchens, her fine slippers dulled with grime. A beetle lay overturned in the dust. She prodded it gently with a twig. "Come now," she murmured. "Do not be lazy. You speak softly for one so loud." Aleyne startled. Crouched in shadow, where the stone wall bowed, was another girl. Her dress might have been grey once, now it was torn and stained. Her jagged nails were black underneath, her greasy hair bound in a short braid. 3 rats puttered at her feet. Aleyne drew herself up. "Who are you?" The girl didn't look at her. "Busy." "I did not ask what you were, I asked who." The girl tilted her head, as if weighing the difference. Jolis, she said at last, turning back to the rats. Get on. You know the box. You get in, I take you to the meadow past the brook. You don't, and my feyther takes you first. Why should your father care? Aleyne asked. Because I'm the daughter of this castle's rat catcher. Aylin's smile faltered. She had never stopped to consider who must care for such things, nor how. One rat edged towards the trap. They cannot understand you, Aleyne said. Jolis ignored her. You were speaking to vermin. And you were talking to a dead beetle, Aleyne faltered. That is different. How? Aleyne had no answer. I am Aleyne, she said instead. Daughter to Lady Varel. Jolis smirked. Then you're far from where you ought to be, Lady Aleyne. She nudged the trap. Get on! Don't make me a liar. Aleyne watched. You are very strange. So I'm told, shrugged Jolis. And you smell. So do the tunnels. But you came down here all the same. Aleyne let the thought settle, then stepped closer. What will you do with them? What I said. Free them where there be grass. And your father? He'll curse me, but will a fear kill. If they learn. Aleyne considered this. You protect them, like the king does his people, like a princess. Jolis snorted. A princess of rats, then? Aleyne flushed. I did not mean offence. I didn't take it as such. Rat princess suits me nicely. Aleyne found herself crouching beside Jolis, heedless of the slime underfoot. I should like to try, she whispered. Come, it is safe. A rat twitched its whiskers, then darted into the trap. Jolis blinked. They favour silk over sense. They continued their coaxing, and soon all three were secured. Yet the girls lingered. Jolis spoke of what crawled in the walls, nested in the rafters, creepy crawlies that could wrap around her wrists like bracelets, and, in a surprising confession, admitted a curiosity about the court itself. Not to gossip, as Aleyne had expected. To Jolis, the nobles were a colony to study. And, to Jolis's delight, Aleyne spoke of bugs she saw while travelling in the king's train, of beetle shells like burnished green and orchid purple, and dragonflies skimming rivers at dusk. Time slipped, and, at last, Aleyne drew back, her stomach hollowing with sudden realisation. We haven't heard any bells down here, she said. When is it? I'm to dine with the Brackens. Jolis's face smoothed out to the placid expression she wore when Aleyne first noticed her in the dark. Then you best run, she said. Time to return above. Aleyne rose. May I call on you again? Jolis fiddled with the trap. If you like. The rats will not mind. I do not ask for the rats, Aleyne curtsied. Farewell, rat princess. Jolis inclined her head. Until next time, Lady Beetle. They found each other again in the hidden hours. A warped cupboard became theirs. There, Jolis kept jars of crickets and moths, and a spider that Aleyne named Patience. But they were not as cleverly hidden as they had thought. One afternoon, the cupboard door opened in surprise. Bang! Amy howled. There you are, she shouted, in filth no less. Aleyne stood abruptly, shocked. And in company that doesn't suit you. The Amy narrowed her eyes at Jolis. Does it speak, or only squeak? Jolis didn't move. She kept her head bent, gaze hidden behind oily bangs. Aleyne felt heat rise in her face. She is my friend. Come, commanded Amihalda, now. Aleyne did not move. We have done no wrong. That isn't for you to judge. The Ami gripped her charge's arms. She struggled, small and fierce, but Aleyne was taken and the cupboard door slammed shut with Jolis still inside. Following their discovery, Hald kept Aleyne under close watch, until, one night, a panel behind Aelyn's chamber wall scraped open. A face appeared in the narrow dark, pale with dust. "You took your time," Aleyne said with relief. Jolis slinked into the candlelight. "You're watched poorly tonight." Aleyne grinned. "No, you are simply better at sneaking." Jolis's gaze moved about the chamber, taking in the carved bed frame, the folded gowns. She reached out and brushed the upholstery, then drew her hand back, noticing the dark mark her touch left behind. "We must be more careful. I don't think your sort approves of my underworld kingdom." "I'm sorry, Rat Princess. You were right. We must be smarter." It was decided that they would not meet so casually. There were places within the walls, small hollows where stones had been replaced. They would leave marks there. Jolis could not read, and Aleyne wrote too fine a hand anyways. "We shall draw," Aleyne said. "A beetle for me, a rat for you." Time moved in fragments, both finding messages in places no servant bothered to look. They developed a secret companionship. But the days shortened, and summer waned. The court packed its trunks once more. "I will return," Aleyne told Jolis. "I follow the king. I go where he goes, and when he returns, so shall I." They hesitated, neither knowing how to say goodbye. In the end, they embraced each other warmly. When Aleyne joined the royal caravan, she was lifted into a carriage, among silks and behind locked doors. Through the narrow window, the castle's ramparts slid past. Something small moved along the stone line above, briefly weightless against the sky. The Rat Princess hopped between shadow and light, keeping pace with the royal train, until the road bent and the castle held her back. The year stretched as long as the distance between them. Jolis kept the cupboard. She gathered what she could against the cold, knowing much would die despite her care. She drew the insects she saw, scratching them with charcoal on parchment scraps. Aleyne learned the art of needlework, to play lute and harp, the histories behind festivals. In quiet hours she drew, filling page upon page of sketchbooks. When the season returned, last summer's habits revived easily. The girls met in the cupboard, breathless as if they were parted a lifetime. "You have grown," Aleyne said, as if accusing her. "So have you." Aleyne was taller. Jolis's braids swung between her shoulders. They swapped drawings and the memories they preserved. "What's this?" Jolis asked, holding up a drawing of a hall filled with figures. "That was the Yule feast," Aleyne said, "when Duke Armand sought my hand. My mother says I'm to be better placed in time." Jolis nodded, as if this were a matter of larvae and not of futures. In return, Jolis proudly presented her surviving jarred specimen. Later, Aleyne retold a story she had heard on the road, of a piper and his manipulation of rats. "He led children away with his music, too." "Fools," Jolis said, "to follow a tune." "Do we not all follow something?" Aleyne asked. The second summer passed as swiftly as the first, and the third heralded the hottest season yet. At 13 years old, Aleyne had more lessons and less time to herself. "I have not drawn so much," she apologized. Jolis shrugged. "I have." Though neither wanted to admit it, something was off. Their conversation was stiff and uneasy, until, saved by a cat, the thin stray had wandered into the lower halls and took to Jolis at once. "It will ruin my work," Jolis said, scratching its ear. "It will improve it," Aleyne said. "See how it watches your subjects." They fed it Aylin's table scraps and groomed the creature often. When the cat began catching rats, they dubbed it Night, an extension of Jolis's royal hand. When the fourth summer came, Night was no longer an army of one. The tunnels shifted with many feline eyes. Aleyne met Jolis, finely gowned and hair dressed high. Jolis's woven hair swayed below her elbow. One friend recounted her lessons. speaking new tongues, dancing without watching her feet. The other described litters of kittens and wary rats. They sat in the cupboard, and it felt smaller. A cat leapt and caught at Alyn's hair. Pins loosened, glossy curls fell. Alyn gasped, reaching up. "Oh no, this will take an hour to mend." "I will set it," Jolis assured her. Alyn stilled. Jolis's hands drew the hair into a long braid, laying it over Alyn's shoulders. Alyn stroked the plait curiously. "I did not think I would like such a thing." "It suits you." "It is a peasant's braid," Alyn said, not unkindly. "It's a rat princess's braid," Jolis corrected. Alyn laughed. "I'm too old for that nonsense." "You make sport of me," Jolis frowned. "I do not." Alyn turned, seeing then the hurt she had caused. I meant that I am no longer a child." "Nor am I," Jolis snapped. "You come and go. You bring tales, take what you will of this place, then you leave again. Time passes, whether you are here or not." Alyn felt her temper rise. "I have no choice. I follow the king in my house. One day I shall follow a husband." "You follow a piper," Jolis sneered. "And you stay," Alyn returned. "That is the way of things. I would have thought you'd learned that by now." "Aye," Jolis said. "I stay. Always here waiting for you to come and go just as you like." "And I am to blame for what I cannot change?" Alyn drew herself up. "You have many subjects to tend. I shall take my leave of you." "Rat princess." Practice steadied her voice into impeccable courtly manners. Amihald would be proud. Jolis grimaced. "Get then. It's what you do best." At the end of the season, they did not say farewell, and court did not return next summer. A sickness took the land, spreading death. Alyn heard of it, tucked safely away on her family estate. She thought of the summer castle's cupboard, charcoal drawings, of a braid laid over her shoulder. Time moved on, but life did not ask her to return. Alyn was betrothed, then wed. She learned new rooms, faces, duties. When at last she walked the summer castle again, she was a 24-year-old mother of 2. She searched the halls, tunnels, and secret passages alone. She found the first hollow empty, the second, nothing. The third, parchment so aged it fell to powder at her touch. The cupboard door stood ajar. Within, the shelves were broken. The place had been emptied in anger or grief. The castle had changed its habits, and she had hers. Servants were different. Paths were altered. Cats, however, were everywhere. They watched Alyn pass with unblinking eyes. At last she came to a small courtyard, tucked behind a fallen arch. A chapel once, perhaps. The stone was broken and green with ivy. A narrow stream trickled down one wall, catching light from shattered glass mosaics above. There, seated upon a low step, was a woman with a cat in her lap. Jolis. Older, yes, but the same in the eyes, with dark hair so long it coiled around her hips. Alyn stopped. For a moment she could not move. Then she crossed the grass and fell to her knees, heedless of her gown. "I thought you dead," she cried, and the tears came without leave. Jolis slid to the ground beside Alyn. She slowly placed a hand on her old friend's shoulder, as if testing for a mirage. Tears brimmed Jolis's eyes, voice thick in her throat. "I was sent away," she said. "My father feared the sickness. He sent me to an aunt beyond the hills." "And he?" "Gone," said Jolis simply. "Taken in the second wave." Alyn bowed her head. "I'm sorry. As am I. I came back when I could. The cats remembered me. They'd taken well to the place." Aleyne let out a small breath that was almost a laugh. I saw. You've made a kingdom of them. Better than rats, Jolis said. I was cruel, Aleyne sobbed. So was I, Jolis choked out. She shook her head. You were right. I was a fool. I thought this place would always remain the same. That we would. It did, Aleyne sniffed. But we couldn't. They embraced one another as tightly as they could, and did little else until the next bell rang. A cat leapt forward, depositing a limp rat at Jolis's side. She nodded. You see, my new subjects bring tribute. Aleyne laughed, softer now. Then you are well served, Cat Queen. Jolis glanced at her, a flicker of the old mirth returning. And you? Are you still Lady Beetle? I am wed, Aleyne said, to Lord Aspen of Vale. And you'll go where he goes? I will. Jolis looked about her small court with a serene smile. And I'll remain where I am. They traded stories of life's mercies and miseries until the light shifted and the bells rang for supper. I do not know when I shall come again, Aleyne said. I know, Jolis answered, and that's okay. Aleyne hesitated, then bowed. Fare you well, Cat Queen. Jolis inclined her head in return. And you, Lady Aleyne of Beetle and Vale. Aleyne turned and left Jolis behind, sitting among her cats, both understanding some things stay, some things follow, and some meet, bright and brief.
Now, I knew what was coming because obviously I read the story before I put it together with the rest of the show and put the music in and things, so I knew what was coming. But that last scene gets me every single time. Alexandria has just done such a wonderful job there of the bittersweet, the coming of age, the unbelievably intense nature of friendship at that age, particularly between two characters so very different. But the stakes when you're that age and you're not really a child, but you're not an adult yet either. Alexandria just nails that in this story with the context she set it in. You know, it's a classic for a reason. The highborn and the lowborn, and then I could bang on about this all day, but I won't because that would be unfair on you. Now, this story was in the opposites attract genre, and this was in the new system in 2026 of pro judging, where the stories were ranked in a whole load of categories of writing prowess, and sometimes the rankings were so unbelievably close that people with very similar scores, some made it, some did not. Now, Alexandria's story didn't make it out of the house stage in this competition. But as we've just heard, that is no reflection on the quality of what she's done here. And I really hope she's pleased with what she's done. And Lauren, thank you. Lauren's got one of those voices where she could read the terms and conditions of a website and still make it sound interesting. Just wonderful, right? 2 great stories. A third wonderful story coming up, different in style again. We have a rom-com. We have a wonderful, wonderful rom-com by Molly Blunden. It's called Love's Pitfall, and it's from the Hearts competition in 2025, a 1,000-word rom-com. If you've read any of Molly's stuff before, you'll know you're in safe hands. She's an experienced writer, she really knows her stuff, and it's read by R.L. Lynn, who is a writer herself and has narrated once or twice for us before. I enjoyed this one very much, and I'm sure you will as well. The prompts Molly had to work with were rom-com, optimist, and rations. So I will get out of the way. Here we go. This is Love's Pitfall by Molly Blunden, narrated by R.L. Lynn.
Laura had always known her luck was bad, but stranded in a mineshaft in the middle of a dense forest wearing a pea-soaked sock, she questioned what amount of past life fuckery warranted this brand of punitive karma. And no one was looking for her. Fantastic. As a successful tech company patent attorney, Laura envisioned high-end corporate retreats at luxurious hotels featuring hammam spas, not this tick-infested, poison oak-laden nature survival camp. She blamed the new director of corporate culture, Nick, for forcing 37 sun-deprived geniuses, geeks, into team building among the trees. Only 6 months on the job, and already Nick had dismantled the once impersonal, aloof corporate environment, and Laura did not like the change. Abandoning her previous position when her former law partner / ex-boyfriend was caught dictating his briefs to his paralegal, real original, Laura had vowed to keep her personal life private in the future. It had taken 3 solid years of rebuking happy hour invitations, snubbing break room birthday celebrations, and shutting down small talk to create Laura's ideal workplace. And then Nick arrived. Sure, she appreciated his tall, toned physique and chiseled jaw, but what was with the friendliness? His magnetism transformed his office into a social hub, forcing Laura to endure countless hours of chit-chat right outside her door. If she stepped foot into the hallway, Nick swooped in, offering mints. Again? Did she have bad breath? A disgruntled hermit, Laura huddled inside her office, overhearing the details of Nick's entire life. Tennis player, somewhat klutzy, avid reader, witty. Great laugh. And competent in the kitchen. The last fact she gleaned from, I lost a bet to Becky and have to make dinner tonight. Becky. She looked like her name sounded. Laura spied the framed photo on his desk when dropping off his new hire contract. Perfect smile, perfect teeth. Becky always smiles, why wouldn't she? Bubbly Becky snagged charismatic Nick. Laura knew Becky wouldn't have opted for the all-day silent meditation over the overnight team-building campout, and Becky would never have urinated on herself behind a tree, mistaken a stick for a snake, tripped backwards over the pea tree's roots, and toppled screaming down an abandoned mineshaft. No. Becky would be whooping encouragement to the skinny nerds dangling from the ropes course, belting out kumbaya around the campfire with burnt marshmallow s'mores sticking to her fingertips. Laura, I heard screaming. Are you all right? The sun was behind him, but Laura identified the Nick-shaped head peering down. Fine, just need help getting out. Oh, so you weren't just hiding from me? Laura clocked the teasing and was unamused. Here, grab onto my pack straps. I'll hoist you up. Ease your way up the shaft. Ease my way? Mind out of the gutter, Laura. Nick lowered his upper body through the opening, his backpack dangling. You got this, Laura. A few awkward half-starts, then with Nick's encouragement, and powerful muscles, sigh. She was soon halfway up the 10-foot wall. Seconds later, however, dirt clods pelted her skull, followed by a mid-air weightless pause, then whooshing darkness. Once again, Laura lay at the bottom of the pit with a pea-stained sock, only now pinned beneath good-natured, smoking hot Nick. Ugh, are you okay? He asked, caramel-colored eyes concerned, their faces inches apart. Laura nodded, feeling a pang of disappointment when he rolled off her, already missing the weight of him. Hissing through his teeth, Nick tugged off his boot, revealing an angry, swollen ankle. After rummaging through his pack for first aid supplies, he fashioned a makeshift splint. You came prepared, she said, impressed. Eagle Scout, he smiled. Of course. Sorry to invade your hole. Invade my... It's about 5 o'clock now, and with the overnight campout, I don't think we'll be missed until morning. Laura grabbed her iPhone. No service down here, but if you boost me, maybe I can reach high enough to get a bar? Great thinking, counselor. Her stomach flipped. A nickname. From piggyback into awkward mount atop his shoulders. Please don't smell my sock. Laura waved her phone overhead, still inches shy of ground level. Determined, she stretched, tugged Nick's hair for purchase, bobbing and bucking to inch higher. Careful, my ankle! They lurched, she toppled, only to find herself sitting stunned in the dirt with Nick's head nestled firmly between her legs. Her embarrassment multiplied when Nick extracted himself, retrieved antiseptic from his bag, and treated the fresh claw marks on his cheek. Courtesy of Laura. I guess we're stuck. Well, it's not ideal, but I have a Mylar blanket, trail mix, bottled water, and Altoids, a real bed and breakfast. Of course, mince, laughed Laura. God, he was cute. Your turn, counselor. Laura beamed. Will this suffice, Eagle Scout? Uncapping a pint-sized silver flask, she offered him the first sip. You've just earned a merit badge. He grinned, swigging the bourbon. Becky is going to lose it when I tell her about this. Oh, yeah. Becky. So, have you known Becky long? Nick laughed. Well, my mom had her when I was 5. Wait, his sister? We lost our parents young, so we're really close. We look out for each other. Relieved her flushed face was hidden by darkening shadows, Laura chugged another whiskey shot. So that bet you lost when you had to make her dinner? He took the flask and side-eyed Laura, grinning. You overheard that? Well, actually, it was about you. Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, be cool. She bet I couldn't get you to tell me 3 things about yourself. How'd you do? Partial credit for half a fact. We determined you either hate Altoids or me. Regret chased the alcohol through Laura's bloodstream. She cursed her porcupine facade. All men are not my loser ex. Harnessing liquid courage, Laura leaned forward, planting a kiss infused with hopefulness. So you hate mince then, he chuckled as they broke apart. Nick, I'm happy you're stuck in my crevice. Shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. Laughing, Nick cupped Laura's face, returning her passionate kiss. Laura snuggled against his chest. Let's just hope the search party of engineering nerds sucked at engineering a rescue.
A few years ago, before I got into competition writing, if someone had told me that you'd be able to knock up a strong, enjoyable rom-com in just 1,000 words, or indeed under 1,000 words, I think I would have been sceptical. But Molly there proving it absolutely can be done, and it can be done extremely well. Thank you to Rebecca for your wonderful reading. Some many, many wonderful moments, and perhaps some hilarious sound bites that I might have to save about sniffing my sock. Or, no, let's not lower the tone, Chris. Let's not do that. No. But, I mean, what a story. Back in the house stage, this was in the competition where you had to get to 8 points to get out of the house stage, and Molly swept her house, scoring 8 out of 8 in the first 8 judgments, which was extraordinarily rare and very well deserved. It got all the way to the thrilling 32. Got to the final 32 out of hundreds and hundreds of rom-com writers, and that's richly deserved success. So well done, Molly. There we are, 3 stories on opposites and others. I'm hoping, as I said at the top of the show, a brief glimpse into the workings of my mind made some sort of sense in grouping these 3 wonderful stories together. 2 of them from the story selection raffle. If that is something that appeals to you, please do check out our social media or website. Links are in the episode description. It could be your story being read out in a few weeks' time. Thank you for joining us on One More Short Story with me, Chris Fulwell. We'll see you next time.